Thanks, Sheldon. Great to have you here again. So excited that you're talking on Wicked Wednesdays again. You'll be talking on the 6th of the 10th at the 7 a.m. time slot. People will be given a link to share when that works for them. And the question we're asking is, how do we get rooted back to our values and purpose and realise the resources available in communities? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's actually a really good topic for us to be diving into as we think about this idea of person-centered planning and what does that really look like. Um, I think in my earlier session, I talked about this idea that person-centered planning kind of got bastardized by the system, and people they just found another way to make it a series of check boxes and a series of questions that they could fill in and then meet their individualized service plan, but not really in the true spirit of what person-centered planning looked like. Here at the Art Community Advocates, we were known historically for providing services across the lifespan, but also across all sectors for people, that we weren't just focused on making sure people had the right supports from the system around care and housing, et cetera, but we're looking at their connections to community, their connections to family, and how we could actually expand and build on those. And over time, we lost ground on that. The organization itself actually started focusing more on educational advocacy because we had people who knew how to do it. And it was an income stream for us. So again, we kind of got sucked in by the system. And then unfortunately, in the process of that, we didn't see it as an opportunity. We saw it as a way to focus on and do some good work, as opposed to an opportunity. And currently, we're in the middle of a strategic planning process, and we're really calling it a pipeline for other services for people. So the way we get introduced to them is through education. People's disabilities don't disappear at the end of their education career, or just because they met their educational outcome goals, that they still have disabilities, they still actually need other kinds of supports, their families need supports. And we stop looking at how do we build community around people. So for us, there is this larger conversation, and we're in the middle of a strategic planning process to think about how do we actually look at where we are and imagine what might look different, and then bring people in to help them make that happen. And so for us, there's two examples just in the last year, and I've only been in this role for 2 years through the midst of COVID, but one of those people is probably one of the most well-known and well-educated self-advocates in the state, attends all of the self-advocate and legislative meetings related to developmental disabilities, is well-versed in it, is a huge promoter of it, and yet didn't actually have much family. And so as we were learning more about her, we actually invited her to be on our board. And as we learned more about her, we just figured out she had some dreams that weren't even being talked about. But as we learned more about her and we're in conversation with her, we learned things like she wants a degree in political science. And so we said, well, how do we invite some people to have a conversation about that, getting back to the roots of that? And many of the people that she invited were professionals, but she's also a really good judge of character. And all of those professionals actually really get what good person-centered planning looks like. So there's now a cohort of about 6 people who are meeting monthly to help this person get this degree. And it's going to be a process, right? We know that the education system, particularly post-secondary, is probably one of the longest standing institutions any of us know. And they're totally entrenched in bureaucracy, and they're not open to change, and they're not open to figuring out how to bring people who aren't traditional learners into that environment. And she couldn't do it by herself. It would be impossible. In fact, she actually tried to go to a community college and flunked out because she didn't have the right kinds of supports. So that idea that there's more in community is always true, but we've forgotten that we need to actually be explicit about it, and we need to be intentional about asking people what that looks like and how to shape that. There's another young man who's just in the middle of transition from high school. He's in his senior year. and we just did a path for him with his family, and it turned out that the path wasn't really for him. He's 18. He really could give a shit about whether we're talking about the rest of his life or not. He has no idea what he wants to do, and he's 18. He probably shouldn't, right? And he's really clear about that. But the path actually became a way to help the family think about what can we do to support him until he's ready to make some of those decisions and dream the big dream, right? What do they dream for him? What do they imagine that will look like? And it's not that they're not savvy people. They're new to the community, so they don't have a lot of community connections. There were family that were showing up who also don't understand the system, don't understand parents who are well educated in what's going on, and just started the conversation. But everybody was in because they all care about this young man. And at the end of the day, the rest of the stuff we just figure out together, which is what we've been doing for a long time. You know, McKnight's work around asset-based community development is at the core of what we think is possible for people. Who are the people? Who are we not inviting? Who are we not asking to come to the conversation? Because we think that the system has all the answers. And I'm fortunate that I know a lot of people who are in the system who get that and who are really striving to figure out how to do that differently. So I think many of the people who really understand person-centered planning and who got scooped up by the system and are trying to do the best work are still there. They can be our allies to do something different. They know that it's possible. So for me, it's a really exciting time to be able to think about how do we open that up? How do we expand that for people? So
awesome. Thanks, Sheldon. I look forward to the conversations that we'll be having in just a little while, and diving much deeper into those perspectives. Thanks for today.
No problem. Thank you.